Hello everyone, welcome. Welcome to this very special session where we are going to look at how you can ensure a 30 plus score, a minimum 30 plus score in the English language section of the upcoming Bank PO mains exams. Now, what are the points in agenda? Let's look at them first. I'm going to tell you first who would be benefited most from this session. Then we will move on to the 3 idiot steps to conquer English. Now, 3 idiots, as we all know, were these 3 guys, right? So, in the steps also we have steps in the name of these 3 guys. So, the first step would be Farhan Step, the second step would be Raju Step, and the third step would be Rancho Step. So, with these 3 steps, I would show you how to ace the English language section so that you get a minimum of 30 plus in this. Obviously, at this point of time, you cannot do a lot of stuff with your content, your preparation, no. But how can you orient yourself so that you can still ensure a 30 plus, even if you are not getting a 20 today, is what would be the main focus of our today's session. And not only that, if some of you guys are getting 30 or 27, 20 to 30, 30 plus in most of the exams, can you pull it forward to a 35 plus score? That is also something that I would guide you today in. And obviously with a heavy dose of entertainment, because at this moment, at this juncture, I know there is a lot of stress in you guys. So I thought, why not to do something very important but in a very entertaining way. Okay, so those would be the 3 important steps of today. And after discussing that, for all of those who would be with me till the end, I will give a bonus step, a 4th not to do step, a step that a lot of students do and end up marring their chances of getting a good score in English section. That is something that I am going to guide you in as a bonus tip today. Okay, so let's start off with the first point in our agenda. Who would get benefited? Who should watch this? Now, my dear friends, in English there are 3 elements which gives you the skill of scoring, the skill of being good at English. Okay, and what are they? The concepts of the English language section, where we talk about the concepts of grammar, we talk about the concepts of reading, concepts of critical reasoning, right, concepts of parajumble, concepts of doing fill in the blanks question, these concepts, the basic concepts on which we approach the questions. The next part is practice. How much you have practiced on them, how deep your practice had been on each one of these areas. Okay, and the last but not the least, reading skills. Your reading skills is primarily very important, especially when it comes to English. It is important for all sections, but especially when it comes to English. Now, if you had been sincerely preparing and have given your best in all of these 3 areas, then how would this lecture help you? Then this lecture would help you to get a 35 plus score. 35 plus score. In which kind of paper? I am coming to that in a moment. Okay, but let's say a lot of you would be in a situation where you have done practice, you have done reading, but you have not done a lot of concepts, right? Okay, then there would be another set of students who would have done concepts, who have done reading, but they couldn't get time to do a lot of practice. Okay, so for them also this session would help a lot. A lot of students have inconsistent scores, like for example, some get 20, 25 in one mock and then 30 plus in another mock. Normally with these set of students, we see this inconsistency, right? So for them also, how to consistently get a 30 plus score is something that would be useful for you guys. Okay. Then there would be a set of people who would have not done anything. I mean, neither they had done concepts, nor they have done practice, nor they have done reading. For them, right, at this stage, at this juncture, obviously this session would give you some idea, but if you have just awakened at yesterday or day before yesterday कि भाई मेरे को exam देना है, what do I do now? Well, this would be of not much help. But for everyone else, and which I think all of you would be in, you would be either in the category where you have done sincerely one or two of these activities, but not all the three, and there would be a handful who have done all the three activities. For all of you guys, it would be an important and useful, fruitful session. Now here, when I say 30 plus, when I say 35 plus, there are a set of two assumptions which I am taking. One is that we are talking about the paper difficulty level similar to last 2 years, right? In that, this is possible. And the second assumption that I am making for on your behalf is that you have an idea of the types of questions that you encounter in mains. That means that you have taken some mocks, you have taken some memory based papers, right? So you have an idea that what kind of questions come in mains exams of bank PO. Okay, right. Now we would move on to the first step, and the first step is Farhan Step. You remember when Farhan came to his father to ask for permission to go to Brazil, I suppose, to get trained in photography. What did he say? He said, "For once, let me listen to my heart." Now, in your case, my advice to you would be a little different only. In the place of heart, I would say, for once, listen to your brain. Right? Now, why do I say that? You see, what was the character of Farhan like? The character of Farhan was that he had strengths. He had strengths in photography and he was good at photography, but he was not giving priority to photography in his life. That is what Rancho motivated him to do, and then he did it and then he excelled in it. Okay. Similarly, you must have strengths in some areas of the paper in the English language section. You must have strengths in some types of questions in the paper. Are you giving them first priority? Is what you should ask. So, learning from Farhan is this. See the paper, follow your strengths and prioritize the questions for order of attempt. That means that the order in which you would attempt the paper, that has to be finalized in the first 2 minutes of that particular section, in this case English section, in which order you would attempt the paper. Having a good strategy, is half the battle won. Right? So, if you make a strategy for the paper, inside the paper, this strategy is not something that you would make it before you even have seen the paper. No. You would go through the paper, that section, let's say English language section. Okay? Let me give you some examples and tell you. Let's say English language section. There are 4 types of questions. Fill in the blanks, double filler, triple fillers type of questions. Then there are RC. Let's say there are 3 RCs with 20 questions in that. Fill in the blanks, 5 questions. 5 questions on grammar application. Now, grammar application here, there are let's say questions which are match the column kind of questions. And 5 questions on parajumble with options. Now, parallelly, you have a paper where you have 3 RCs. You have a closed test of 5 questions, 3 RCs, 20 questions. You have grammar application, but grammar application where you will have to correct the error and correct the error of a particular phrase. Let's say there is a sentence and 3-4 words have been emboldened and you will have to check errors in there and correct it. And a parajumble without option. So, in these two, the paper nature is different. Let's see, your strength lies in doing fill in the blanks questions fast and accurately. So, prioritize fill in the blanks and the closed test questions at the start of your paper. Whichever number questions they are does not matter, do them first. Okay, right. Then let's say your strength lies in reading. Okay, then put the reading comprehension questions. I normally do not suggest reading comprehension at the start because you need a little bit of warm up to go to the reading comprehension sets, right? That's why I do not suggest them at the first, but in the second priority obviously you can take them. Now comes the third and the fourth priority in the both the papers. Now in the first paper the parajumble was with option. In the second paper the parajumble was without option. So definitely the parajumble with option would be an easier fare than the parajumble without option. In grammar, let's say you are so kind of. Okay. So in the first paper you should prefer to do parajumble with option because there you have options to eliminate options and come out with the answer. You know what are parajumble with options, we have discussed them on the channel a lot of times, where there is the whole arrangement option is given and there are options to that, right? And parajumble without option is that they give you questions like which is the second sentence, which is the third sentence. Now they are more challenging to do, na? So in the first case you should have gone with the parajumble with option first and then the grammar one because you are so with grammar. In the second one, parajumble without options would take more time and the because you do not have options to eliminate, therefore the accuracy might also take a hit. So there doing the error correction one where they are emboldened and you can do it fast would make more sense, right? This is something that you need to do. You will have to prioritize your paper, the order in which you do questions. Half of the battle is won there. A lot of times you must have seen, when you are done with the paper and when you revisit the paper for analysis, you see, arey, I could have scored at least 7-8 marks more, right? But I missed them because the questions that I could have done well, I took them at the end and ended up not giving as much time as they required. And therefore, I could not perform to the fullest of my potential, right? That happens now in mocks. Why does that happen? Because of this. We would ensure that does not happen. Okay? So, first step is over. Second step, next, Raju step. So, the first step was a very important step because all the other steps would be an extension of that step. Now, Raju step, the second step. Now, Raju, if Raju was something, he was very sincere. वो तो Rancho और Farhan के चक्कर में he went a little off track, but he was very sincere, right? That we'll have to give to him. And if he put mind into something, he would try and do it. As a matter of fact, in interview, if you remember, he was given a lot of chances to stray from his answer in terms of his convictions, his own logic, his own common sense. He was given a lot of chances, but he did not. And he said this dialogue, na, दोनों टांगे तुड़वा के अपने पैरों पे खड़ा होना सीखा है. So what does it mean? That I have learned from experience. Now count your experience. It counts a lot. Just because someone else is giving you a short trick, a shortcut, right, 5 days before exam for doing a particular type of question, that does not nullify the months and months of experience that you have gathered, because that you have learned and imbibed inside, right? Okay, so give importance to your experience. And how do you give importance to your experience? First of all, follow the strategy sincerely. Now, how do you follow the strategy? So there are two aspects to it. I will fix an order now, but then you have experience of solving questions. Now, when you have experience of solving similar questions, you also know on an average how much time you should take to do those questions. On an average, how much time should be taken to do those questions. If you have studied with me, I give a reference of how much time you should take for each type of question every time in the lecture. So you would know that already. So when you do that question, the time limit should be in your mind, but when you do that question, you should be sincerely, with full focus, should be attempting that particular question and do it with your own concepts and common sense. don't get carried away by the shortcuts that you must have seen somewhere just 10 days, 5 days before the exam. They might not occur to you, you might not be able to do them in the right way, but your concepts and common sense, no one can snatch that away from you. No one can take that away from you. So if something you have less idea about, don't try to apply that. Use your common sense and concepts in that state. And now let's say, for example, you would follow the strategy. How do you follow the strategy? You will follow the strategy by giving a question the slotted time. In that slotted time, give your 120%. Give everything to that question. Don't think about anything else. Don't get distracted. Distraction is a killer thing when it comes to answering questions. Got it? Okay. Now, the third step now, and this time Baba Rancho step, Rancho step, and that is all is well. Now, why do I say all is well? Because see, in the last step, I told you to follow the time limits that you have set for yourself for every question or every set of question, let's say, for RC or for fill in the blanks, whatever set of question, whatever time that you think is fit for it, through your experience you have gathered, do that. But then also there would be times where you would miss those time limits. That happens in every exam, every mock, right? Your first trial would be to keep yourself in the all is well zone. And how do you keep yourself in the all is well zone? By following the time guidelines that you have made for yourself and by following the strategy. Okay? But we are human beings, we get carried away. Let's say you were to give 2 minutes to a set of questions, set of 3 questions, but you gave 3 minutes. Okay? First you will try to do it in 2 minutes, and if it is not happening, leave it and move on to the next. But let's say you gave it more time. Then what should you do? Should you panic? No, because if you panic, then whatever you do in your next trials, that would get marred. Those efforts of yours would get wasted. Why? Because your focus would be on your panic and not on the questions. You would impede the step 2. So by chance, if you get stuck in a question, and that happens in English, more so in quant and reasoning, and invest more than necessary time. You will try not to, but you invest more than necessary time and still you are not able to do, then also chant this mantra, all is well, nothing is lost. Let's move on to the next, right? That all is well attitude would keep your confidence high. Because inside the exam, you should feel high confidence, because then only you will be able to make right choices, right decisions. Okay, right? Okay, so the third step, Rancho step, all is well step. So with these three steps, I am sure you are going to ensure that you get what you are capable of. And everyone in a similar paper like what came in SBI PO and IBPS PO, you are capable of getting a 30 plus. And those who are good at all the 3 things that we discussed, they are capable of getting a 35 plus. But whether you would get or not would be dependent upon, first, whether you prioritize your questions according to your strengths and the type of question that has come in paper, right? Take it. Second, whether you are focusing your whole might inside the question, thinking about the question, solving the question when you are solving that particular question. And third is time management. Time management, first our target would be to not overshoot on the time parameters, and even if I overshoot, then to control ourselves and not panic and say all is well, and then the overall paper would be well. Okay, see, at this point of time you cannot learn something new. Whatever you have learned, if you have ensured at least 2 of those 3 circles, whatever you have learned is more than enough to get a 30 plus score in a similar kind of paper. You will have to just ensure that you do it. Okay? Okay, sure. Now the bonus tip, I told you I will give you a bonus tip, not to do. Now this time that not to do is the Chatur step. Now, what was Chatur Ramalingam, doing in Three Idiots? He was mugging things up, and that's why when he went on for that speech of his, he ended up making a fool of himself, right? Because he mugged things up. Now, what do we learn from Chatur? What not to do? These three things. Don't memorize your strategy, my dear friends. Your strategy should not be fixed. Whatever paper comes, my strategy should be fixed? No. Why? Because there might be changes in the type of nature of paper in mains. How many times we have seen new kinds of questions coming? Now, what are new kinds of questions? They are obviously variations of whatever we have studied. But a lot of times what happens, to understand those new types of questions, especially in grammar, in reasoning oriented questions, we take a little more time. So, in that case, you should be keeping them for, for later on rather than at the start. Right. Let's say you are a pro at grammar, but still there is a new looking question that is in front of you. So, you might choose to keep it in a third priority or second priority rather than in the first priority, right. So, your strategy should depend upon the type of paper, first of all. Second, you can get ideas from other strategy. For example, we have done a lot of strategy sessions of mocks in our mock playlist. Go in there and then you can check it out. So, you can get ideas from our strategy, but your strategy would be your own. You can get the idea and you can orient yourself to create your own strategy, but do not copy someone else's strategy, or you would be like Chatur, that if some things change, you will not be able to take benefit of that, rather you would be bearing the losses of that, right? Okay, like Chatur had to bear the consequences in the college function. And finally, don't try to remember how you solved it earlier or how you saw it to be solved earlier. Let's say there is a similar looking, familiar looking question. So the first reaction of ours, अरे इसको मैंने कैसे solve किया था, अरे इसको सर ने कैसे solve किया था. Don't do that, right? Read the question, read the instructions carefully, and then solve it there. You have an exceptional top floor. Use it inside the exam. Be confident in yourself. Trying to remember how you had solved it is a tougher task than solving it then, right? Okay, so these three things you should not do. And specifically to the with respect to the third one, you should understand the question, use your concepts, knowledge and common sense. Knowledge use karo, obviously you will use your knowledge, common sense to solve it, right? Then your job is cut out. You are done. You have ensured that you would get the best out of that paper, okay? And that best is easily more than 30 and even maybe more than 35 in some cases, okay? Okay, so that would be all for today. Hope you enjoyed this session and learned from this as well. So, on the note that you all of you would do amazingly well in this year's mains exams, I will close this session. Thank you very much and all the best.